One of the most liberal places in America, West Hollywood, California, to pass out red Make America Great Again hats and figure out what the good people of California really think of our commander-in-chief. I told you we were going to do this. Here you go.
All right.
That's what I'm
Yes! We're coming upon the 1 year of anniversary of President Trump's inauguration, so I'm out here trying to figure out what Californians think about his first year.
I think everybody's pretty convinced that it was a failure.
Let's face it, he's done an amazing job. He's done, in 1 year, he's accomplished more than Obama did in 8 years.
I read vibes, and I don't like his vibe at all. So
You don't like his vibes?
Mm-mm.
What does that hat say?
It says Make America Great Again.
Hey, so how about this? That bull on the wall. I'll take it down if I can.
So we're out here asking folks in West Hollywood how they feel about President Trump's first year. How would you describe it in one word or one sentence?
Idiot.
I think it's really great. I kind of back him up. I mean, some of the things he says, or we're not on Twitter, I don't necessarily agree with all the time.
Do you read his tweets?
Yes, I do.
Do you find him funny?
I feel like it's funny because he's saying whatever is on his mind, but he's doing too much. He's doing too much. As a president, he need to just relax a little bit. You know?
Trump's a bit unpredictable, so you don't really know what he's going to say the next day. He could say something tomorrow that, just like blows everything up.
What do you think of his first year in office?
I'm going to pass on speaking on that.
What do you think about his first year?
Stellar.
I'm bringing gifts.
I don't want that.
You want? Why not?
But I don't want.
I'm guessing you don't want a hat? Okay. Are you sure? It's an official. It's an official. It's a collector's item.
Trump and his policies.
If you were to describe President Trump's first year in one word or one sentence, what would it be?
Effective.
I love it. We're just out here in West Hollywood asking folks how they feel about President Trump's first year. How do you feel about it?
It's been rough for everybody, but I think that we should come together as a country and support whoever we have in office no matter what.
What do you think of the first year?
I think that first year is absolutely phenomenal, and I think 3 more are going to be over the top.
What about a tax cut for 80% of Americans?
What?
A tax cut for 80% of
I
Americans.
don't pay taxes. Your taxes stupid. And so all y'all. Yo, stupid. Yo, pay me.
Well, thank you for your opinion. Free speech. Did you want a hat, sir?
The voice of the generation. What was that guy, Antifa? Tommy Lahren joins us. Was he with Antifa?
I don't know if he was Antifa, but he wasn't stable.
What's that? He wasn't too stable?
He wasn't stable. I don't know if he was an official Antifa member, but he was not stable. But he had some very strong opinions that he certainly shared with me. He didn't want a hat, sadly. Maybe next time we go back, we can try to find him again. I think he's probably regretting that decision. They're great hats.
All right. I give you a lot of credit. You go out right in the middle. Here's the interesting part to me. This is West Hollywood. This is pretty liberal California we're talking about. A lot of people like the president. And we're very, like, yeah, I like this guy. Yeah, I like his honesty. He did more in 1 year than Obama did in 8 years. I didn't expect it.
I was shocked. I've been there a few times, as you know, but actually asking folks how they felt about it. And they weren't just your typical people that the left would say are Trump supporters. The diversity was astounding. That is the best kept secret in Los Angeles, California, is how many conservatives there are and how diverse Trump supporters are, conservatives are, Republicans are. That's what the left does not want you to know, is how diverse we are. And I love it.
I keep saying, I don't know if you agree with me or not, that Trump polls, there's a certain group of people that are just not going to admit. But they really like Trump. They like his outspokenness. They like that he's an iconoclast. And they also like the economy. And they like results. And all the noise isn't going to matter at the end of the day if people get jobs and they're back at work and off of food stamps and back in the labor force and not in poverty.
Even the ones that said he did a horrible job, when I stood there a little bit longer and started discussing it with them, they really couldn't give me any examples of how he's done a horrible job. They just, again, they point to his tweets and how his tweets hurt their feelings. But when I actually brought up some of the examples, like we went over last week about the incredible improvements this president is making to this country for all Americans, they seemed to kind of agree with me. But again, they had to bring back in the feelings, and they didn't like him because, he tweets.
This guy with the man, are we sending enough security out with you? You're okay?
The security is excellent. They're actually doing a very good job. And the nice thing about it is we were able to calm him down enough to have him explain himself. As you can see, his language was colorful. But at the end of the day, I think maybe we reformed him just a little bit. I think he walked away pretty excited about Fox News.
All right, really excited. Great work. Tommy Lahren, we'll see you later in the week. Thank you, as always, for doing that for us. We appreciate it. Everyone loves it. When we come back, this is a painful video of the day. Painful. And the Hannity Hotline. Straight ahead. The Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, now revealing that there are over 50,000. We thought there were 10 text messages between Trump-hating FBI agent Peter Strzok and his FBI lawyer, Mistress Lisa Page. Now, nearly 400 of those texts were released this weekend. Also tonight, stunning evidence that the fix is in fact in. We've been right all along. The FBI now saying they lost the 5 key months of text messages between the two lovers, Strzok and Page. Now, this is a conspiracy to obstruct justice. I'm not buying it. And part of the problem, it's a troubling pattern. What have we seen over and over again? Hillary and Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and the list goes on and on. The IRS case, remember that? Now, not only is this worse than Watergate, it looks like a cover-up worse than Watergate. Our 18 minutes of missing tape have just shown up in this case. This all comes as one of the new messages tonight suggests that Strzok, Page, and the former Attorney General Loretta Lynch knew Hillary Clinton would go free in the email scandal investigation before they ever investigated it or interviewed her. Plus, tonight, pressure is building to release a classified memo showing systemic FISA abuse against the Trump campaign. This scandal is one of the biggest abuses of power in American history. It is time that you, the American people, get the truth. We are once again tonight, we're calling on you to contact Congress. Let them know you want the memo released. We also want you to send out. We want the text messages. And now that the government shutdown is almost over, my advice to Republicans going forward on immigration will give that and so much more in tonight's breaking news opening monologue. All right, remember the vindication I've been telling you is coming? Tonight, it is in full motion. Everything that we have been reporting for over the past year and the media has ignored for the past year is now being uncovered. We have so much information. I literally need 3 hours tonight. We'll go through it slowly so everybody gets it. Now, please stay with us. It will take your breath away. The Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, is revealing that there are, in fact, more than 50,000 text messages between Trump-hating FBI employees, Peter Strzok, and Lisa Page. This is significant because previous reporting put the number of text messages at only 10,000. And Sessions is also vowing tonight to get to the bottom of the missing text messages, which beginning to look more and more like an FBI cover-up. This is a massive developing scandal, and it ties into everything we have been telling you. Now, we're learning that five months of text messages between the Trump-hating lovers, Strzok and Page, they have conveniently disappeared. I don't make this up. The messages that the FBI is claiming to have lost, well, they are from a critical, crucial time in the Russia investigation. Now, here's what happened. Now, during that 5 months, this is from December 14, 2016 to May 17, 2017. March 4th, President Trump claimed that he was wiretapped at Trump Tower. We don't have the exchanges from them. I'd love to know what Strzok and Page were gossiping about at that point. January 11th, remember BuzzFeed? They published the Clinton bought and paid for phony Russian propaganda dossier that the FBI then used to help get a FISA warrant against the Trump campaign. They say against Carter Page. That was a pretext. January 24th, now former National Security Advisor, Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. He's interviewed by the FBI, and I hope Flynn's attorneys are watching tonight because there was one person in the room named Peter Strzok who has made it clear that he despises all things Donald Trump. He oversaw that interview. Now, given what we now know, you have to wonder, how fair could Strzok possibly be? Now, Strzok had no business being involved in that investigation or any of the others that he's involved in. The guy still shouldn't have a job. As I said last Friday, he should be fired. He should, in fact, be investigated. Then we go to May 9th. FBI Director James Comey is fired. May 17th, Robert Mueller is named special counsel. So the messages are missing from that entire time period, the most critical time. But they're available from May 18th. That's the exact day after Robert Mueller was appointed special counsel. You don't think that's highly suspicious? Now, Strzok and Page, they are the key players in everything that we have been uncovering. They got their hands in everything. Are we really supposed to believe that the FBI simply lost text messages from that important time frame? This is like Watergate and far worse. Remember the 18-and-a-half-minute gap in the White House tapes? This reeks of lawbreaking. It reeks of conspiracy. And it reeks of obstruction of justice. And by the way, the cover-up is always worse than the crime. Now, that's what it looks like to me tonight. Now, the DOJ, they're trying to explain it away. They're saying tonight that many of the FBI's issued Samsung 5 phones didn't capture text messages during that period. Hold on a second. We're going to blame Samsung? The DOJ is, chalking this up to a, quote, misconfiguration on issues related to rollouts, provisioning, and software upgrades that conflicted with the FBI's collection capabilities. We're going to blame Samsung? They're blaming Samsung? Where are the phones tonight? And instead of making excuses, the FBI, have you brought in your best forensic experts to analyze the phones? And by the way, if you can't get the messages, you need to call Samsung. Maybe they'll help you. And if the FBI doesn't want to do that, then we can only draw the conclusion that the FBI clearly is hiding something in this very crucial time period and timeline that we're talking about. Remember Lois Lerner? Oh, she's another example. Now, this is part of a much larger pattern here. Let's look at Hillary Clinton's email server scandal. Remember, 33,000 deleted emails that had been subpoenaed by Congress. Now, to make doubly sure that those were erased, never to be retrieved again, well, then Clinton acid washed the hard drives with an item known as bleach bit to get rid of all of them, no trace of them, while those emails, again, under congressional subpoena. And on top of that, a Clinton aide then took the BlackBerries and mobile devices and smashed them with a hammer. And the few remaining cell phones, well, they turn over to the FBI. They had no SIM cards. And look at these headlines. Fox News, October 2016, quote, FBI agreed to destroy laptops of Clinton aides with immunity deal, lawmaker says. Well, why would the FBI ever agree to destroy evidence? That doesn't make sense. And according to the same reporting, as part of the plea deal, the FBI wasn't allowed to search emails after the existence of Clinton's server was made public, which means that the FBI wouldn't be able to look at possible obstruction of justice by Clinton and her aides when it's so obvious that's what happened. Then there's this October 5th report from the Washington Examiner, quote, immunity deals stopped FBI from investigating bleach bit use in Clinton email case. Any of you at home ever use BleachBit? You ever smash your mobile devices? Clinton destroyed evidence, and the FBI didn't even want to investigate. And we can't forget, instead of coming clean and admitting what she was doing, Hillary Clinton gave excuse after excuse after excuse for using an unsecure email server in a mom-and-pop shop bathroom closet. Remember, 5 foreign intelligence agencies got access to all of this. Take a look.
The laws and regulations in effect when I was Secretary of State allowed me to use my email for work. That is undisputed. It clearly wasn't the best choice. And I take responsibility for that decision. I thought it would be easier to carry just one device for my work and for my personal emails instead of 2.
iPhone or Android?
iPhone. Okay, in full disclosure,
BlackBerry.
And a BlackBerry. I have an iPad, a mini iPad, an iPhone, and a BlackBerry.
You were the official in charge. Did you wipe the server?
What, like with a cloth or something? No. Well, no. By the way, you may have seen that I recently launched a Snapchat account. I love it. Those messages disappear all by themselves.
Really? You're going to joke about it? Clinton broke the law. We know she certainly didn't take care of classified top secret special access information. She destroyed such. And by the way, and it's pretty simple that the FBI let her off the hook. We'll have more on that in just a second tonight. We have new information. This destruction of evidence is part of a pattern from the Obama administration. Remember Lois Lerner, IRS targeting conservative scandal? The agency lost the emails of Lois Lerner, and the official that was leading the charge in unfairly going after conservatives, the IRS said the emails were lost because of a system crash. Every time the walls are closing in on the Obama administration officials, key evidence just disappears. And they found it 2 years later in that case. When it keeps happening, it's not a coincidence. It's actually called obstruction of justice. And there are also several other wrinkles in this story. There's also, remember Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the IT aid scandal? Well, he had smashed hard drives in his garage. But of course, the aide's lawyer denied it ever happened. Also breaking tonight, a newly released text message from Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, this is where it gets interesting, appears to now show that both of them, and now tonight add the Attorney General, former Attorney General Loretta Lynch, knew that Hillary Clinton would not be prosecuted in her email server investigation. What's important is they're saying this before they ever interviewed Hillary. Now, before we show you the message, let's give you a little of the backstory. Remember in May, Comey and Strzok and other top FBI officials, remember they were drafting the Clinton exoneration on the email server scandal before ever interviewing Hillary and 17 other key witnesses? So, exoneration before investigation, yeah, that's called being rigged, and the fix was in. And then you also have former Attorney General Loretta Lynch meeting who? Bill Clinton on a tarmac, talking about grandchildren for 40 minutes at the end of June. Again, they still have not interrogated or asked questions of Hillary Clinton and the key people in this investigation. Lynch also called Comey, remember, had the meeting with Comey and said to Comey, call it a matter, not an investigation. And Comey followed her orders to the letter. And then just days later, when Lynch said that she would step away from the email investigation, she said she would accept the FBI's conclusion. Well, Strzok texted Page on July 1st. Look at this. Timing looks like hell. Page responds, yeah, that is awful timing, talking about the tarmac meeting. It's a real profile in courage since she, Loretta Lynch, knows no charges will be brought. How did she know? Now, 4 days after that, Comey held his press conference, letting Hillary Clinton off the hook. Now, we also have the text message between Strzok and Page, remember, talking about the insurance policy in case, God forbid, Donald Trump became president. The fix was in. This was rigged. This was an exoneration without an investigation. There's no equal justice under the law here. You got Strzok, Page, Lynch, all knew the charges would not be recommended against Clinton. That's why they wrote the exoneration early on. And if Lisa Page knew, then that means that her boss, the deputy FBI director, Andrew McCabe, knew, who we think Strzok and Page were talking to in the insurance, quote, text message. And that would probably mean they knew that Clinton would go free. Now, we also need to know, what now, Deputy Attorney General? What did Rod Rosenstein know? And when did he know it? He has a lot of questions to start answering. And if Comey and Lynch, the top two law enforcement officials in the country, knew, and I gather there's a pretty good chance that someone in the Obama White House also knew the fix was in for Hillary. The timing is key. If you put the fix in, she gets to stay in the presidential race. If she gets indicted, the Democratic Party is thrown into shambles before an important presidential election. They thought they knew better, and they saved Hillary because they thought she would win, and they wanted to appoint her the president of the United States. Do you think Watergate was a big scandal? This is Watergate on steroids and human growth hormones at levels that would kill the average person. And to top it all off, there's even more information tonight. Another newly released text message between Strzok and Page. It talks about a change to Comey's Clinton exoneration letter. Now, the statement originally referenced Clinton emailing President Obama when she was, quote, on the territory of a hostile country. Now, the part mentioning Obama was then altered to say a, quote, senior government official before being removed entirely. So Obama had to know that Clinton was using a private email server, and we have the evidence tonight. And we also have new breaking developments in terms of Republicans' effort to release the classified 4-page memo that details these massive FISA abuses against the Trump campaign. This is becoming the biggest scandal in American history, modern American history. You have members of Congress who have seen it are saying the contents are shocking, jaw-dropping, alarming. People will go to jail. And Fox News is reporting tonight that releasing the memo to you, the American people, could take up to 19 congressional business days if all the procedures are, quote, followed. That means we don't get to see the memo. You don't get to see the memo until at least the middle of March. Tonight, we are asking that you keep applying pressure. Demand that the public see the memo. Release the memo. You need to see the truth. You need to know about this massive abuse of power. They are trampling on our Constitution. They're shredding it. Our Fourth Amendment rights against unreasonable search and seizure, the weaponization of our intelligence community, and how the Clinton bought and paid for phony Russian dossier. She fixed, remember, she fixed the primary. She had Comey, Strzok, and apparently Loretta Lynch trying to fix her case when she broke the law. Then she tried to use the phony dossier to fix a general election. Why not after it worked in the primary? And then they use it in an effort to spy on an opposition candidate in an election year, and then a president-elect and his team. Call the number at the bottom of the screen. We need to see this memo. 202-224-3121. We'll put it up throughout the evening. Tell your member of Congress, release the memo. There's a ton of information tonight. Let me sum up what this all means. Clinton fixed the primary against Bernie, struck Comey, and apparently Loretta Lynch, then exonerated Hillary without ever interviewing her or the key people in that whole email server scandal. The fix was in. It was rigged. Clinton and the DNC tried to influence the general. They bought and paid for Russian lies before an election. And the fix was in there. And the Obama administration weaponized the powerful tools of intelligence to target members of the Trump campaign. The fix was in. Strzok and his mistress, Lisa Page, talk about an insurance policy. And now key text messages are missing. The fix is in. This is far worse than Watergate. It's a massive abuse of power. And you are witnessing one of the biggest scandals in American history with a cover-up to boot. Key players, Strzok, Page, Bruce Orr, Rod Rosenstein, need to be fired and investigated. Comey, Loretta Lynch, investigated. And I'm not talking about rank-and-file members in the FBI and Justice Department that do great work or in the intelligence community. I'm talking specifically about abuses committed by the very top officials in the deep state, in the FBI, and the Department of Justice. And if Robert Mueller, you're watching tonight, and I'm sure you are, and I'm sure your corrupt team of Obama, Hillary Clinton, deep state witch hunters are watching. This witch hunt needs to be shut down, since you've clearly stacked the deck against and started out with a biased investigation against President Trump. And finally tonight, the government shutdown is over. The president just signed a temporary bill, and I told you it was no big deal. All the panic by the rest of the media was a waste of your time. All right, now we've got a lot to get to tonight. Joining us now is investigative reporter and Fox News contributor. We have Sarah Carter, also Greg Jarrett, Fox News legal analyst, Congressman Matt Gaetz. All right, let's talk about your... Well, you got a quote today in your article. Tell everybody. This is amazing.
Oh, yeah. First of all, members of the FBI, like we've said before, Sean, these are good people. These are people who want the truth out. And former senior FBI officials, as well as current FBI officials, do not believe that this was just a technical glitch. I can't even use the language that they shared with me when they heard the news come out. Something that they did bring up that I think is really important to get out to the audience is they said that a lot of these text messages were done on these unsecure Samsung 5, phones.
Glitch.
Yeah, the glitch. So it wasn't just about capturing it in U.S. servers, but they said foreign actors such as Israel, even Germany, Russia, China, and others try to capture FBI cell phones all the time. So it may be that a foreign actor actually has the text messages between...
you mean Vladimir might have it after all?
Somebody else may have it after all. And they talked about Flynn being the subject of blackmail. What about them being the subject of blackmail?
I have people, I don't want to mention their names, they didn't give me permission, but are telling me Samsung phones don't have point-to-point encryption or iMessage,
right.
And that those text messages are retrievable through the carrier. Now, they may have been gone by some point, but certainly they would have a time and date stamp, wouldn't they?
They would. If the evidence was actually destroyed, it may have been obtained first before it was destroyed by the Inspector General, Michael Horowitz. And there's some indication, Ed Henry is reporting this, that that is the case. If so, we will invariably get to the bottom of destruction of evidence and obstruction of justice.
Matt Gaetz, Congressman, we've got our 18.5 minutes of missing tape here, if you will, but this is far worse than Watergate. Explain why you believe so, because you went over to see the memo that we deserve to see.
Well, absolutely, Sean, and thank you so much for the leadership you've provided in encouraging the American people to demand the release of this memo. It is no longer disputable that a pro-Hillary Clinton, anti-Donald Trump bias has intractably infected the FBI, and the United States of America is in jeopardy as a consequence. And, Sean, you laid out a great timeline, but there are even more damaging facts to come. I know that's hard to believe, but trust me, around the corner, we're going to be learning even more about how infected this investigation is, particularly the Mueller probe. Just look at this. In August, you had Strzok and Page saying they were going to be the insurance policy. They were going to save America from a Trump presidency.
How much worse, and how you got to bring us into your world here? How?
Well, Sean, I can say this. Wait till you overlay this 5 months of dark period with the memo that we want to release. These are not isolated incidents that are separated from one another. You have to evaluate these things together.
Do you believe they're missing? Because I don't buy it. After Lois Lerner, after Hillary Clinton, bleach pit, acid wash, hammering devices, I don't buy it. Debbie Wasserman Schultz smashed hard drive. This is bull.
The American people are never going to believe that 2 days after Barack Obama sicked the intelligence community on President Trump, that all of a sudden these text messages went dark, and then they just happened to reappear and come alive the day after Robert Mueller is selected to be the special counsel. It would be the coincidence of all coincidences.
All right, Sarah, you tie this together with what Congressman Gates is just saying. You see a connection.
Oh, absolutely. Congressman Gates brings up several really important points. And according to the people that I've spoken with, you know, this went back to 2015. These text messages were supposed to be stored, and they should be stored. The fact that those 5 months, the most important 5 months of the investigation, are missing is highly concerning. And FBI agents, law enforcement, U.S. intelligence officials say they believe that these text messages will be retrieved. And, Greg, you made a very good point. If Horowitz did get those text messages without them knowing, and they withdrew, they went in and somehow tried to clean it up, look, they would have to go to their records management system at the FBI. They would have to have somebody in there help them clean this up.
Let's talk about the legal aspects of what we're looking at here, and what does the Loretta Lynch component say to you?
It says to me the fix was in, as you described it in your monologue, which is obstruction of justice. And if a false document was used to not only launch the Trump-Russian investigation, but to spy on Trump associates, that's a violation of the law. It's abuse of power. It's called deprivation of rights under color of law, 22 U.S.C. 242, 18 U.S.C. And people should go to jail. The penalty is 10 years behind bars, and it increasingly looks like this was a widespread, nefarious, and illegal plot to frame Donald Trump and clear Hillary Clinton.
All right. Thank you all for your hard work. You two deserve Pulitzers. And John, Congressman, we need you guys to fight and release this. We need release the memo and find the text. That is our, hashtag tonight. All right, so much to come back. When we come back, exclusive interview. The president's attorney, Jay Sekulow, weighs in on this important new information. Straight ahead. All right, busy breaking news night. Joining us now with reaction to all the news from the American Center for Law and Justice, Chief Counsel, and the president's attorney, Jay Sekulow. All right, so we have the insurance policy memo with text message between Strzok and Page. Now we bring in Loretta Lynch. So we have Strzok, Lynch, Page, Comey, McCabe, all knowing before they ever interviewed Hillary Clinton in the email server investigation. And, of course, we have the exoneration written before the investigation, all knowing the fix was in and it was rigged for Hillary. Wow.
Yeah. Well, let me give you this, though. James Comey's testimony under oath. Congressman Ratcliffe asked this question: did you make the decision not to recommend criminal charges relating to classified information before or after Hillary Clinton was interviewed by the FBI on July 2nd? Director Comey, after. That's a false statement. That's a felony. Let's talk about obstruction of justice. A lot of interest in obstruction of justice. Explain to me, and I am listening to these explanations coming out regarding the missing emails. Now, Sean, I was the lawyer. The American Center for Law and Justice brought the case against the Internal Revenue Service for targeting. And you may remember during that litigation.
Yes, sir.
Right. What was gone? Missing emails. And we kept pressing and pressing, and finally they recovered them. And then the case was resolved and settled in our client's favor. Companion case damages were also paid, injunction and damages. So here's what you've got. The 5 most important months of this Russia probe. What's missing? Start with this. BuzzFeed published the fake Steele dossier on January 11, 2017. Are there any text messages between the two parties here, Page and Strzok? Answer, those are missing. Strzok interviews Michael Flynn on January 24, 2017. That's when he interviewed General Flynn. Are there text messages between Lisa Page and Strzok then? No, they're missing. James Comey's fired for his incompetence by the President of the United States on May 9th, 2017. Are there text messages between the parties during that transaction? No. Special Counsel Robert Mueller is appointed on May 17, 2017. Any text messages there? No. But the next day they start up again. So the 5 months while this case is in its interesting, serious probe, this is the Russia collusion nonsense, I'll call it, the missing text messages are just gone. So what you've got is a pattern of practice within these agencies. Look, out of law school, I was a government lawyer. I worked for the Chief Counsel's Office of the Internal Revenue Service as a government lawyer. The idea, could you imagine going into the IRS and saying, I'm sorry, I lost my receipts, and see how that works out in your audit? Not too well. So here's
Lois
what you've
Lerner missing.
Yep.
For 2 years.
Yep.
Then you got Hillary Rodham Clinton, deleted, bleach pit, acid washed, and then destroying BlackBerries. Then you've got Debbie Wasserman Schultz and her IT aide and busted up hard drives in the garage we read. Then you read, now we've got this, the 5 key months, and then it just started up again the day after Robert Mueller's appointed. Jay,
Sean, the taint.
And then all these people knew she would never get in trouble. And they're very clear. There's no ambiguity.
You know, there's 2 things I need to point out. Number one, I said from the beginning the whole thing was a faux investigation on the Clinton email thing. I never saw that. Remember also, when the Department of Justice started that investigation, internal investigation of the IRS targeting, I said that was a faux investigation also. In fact, I stopped my clients from participating in it because it was nonsense. The questions were ridiculous. But here's what you've got. The 5 months that are the critical 5 months in this Russia probe, all of a sudden, the 2 agents, who, by the way, were on the special counsel staff after he was appointed, not before, but they were all working on this Russian investigation. Remember, Strzok was the counterintelligence chief FBI agent. His emails are just gone. His text messages, text messages just vanished, don't exist. So here's the question you have to ask yourself. If the taint is this significant, what does that mean for the underlying matter that this is involved in? And, I heard the Department of Justice today is going to investigate this. Sean, here's what I think. They need to bring in a lawyer that is dedicated to one thing only, and that is investigate. This is not the first time this has happened, by the way, where they brought in lawyers either within the agency or brought in lawyers outside the agency into the agency to find out what is going on here. This is inexplicable. There is no excuse for it. And the FBI can't just write this off by saying it must have been a technical glitch with Samsung. By the way, every time there's been a technical glitch, we end up recovering the document. Let me tell you about another technical glitch. Remember the technical glitch on the Iran negotiation with President Obama?
Yep.
And all of a sudden the video was edited and they said it was a technical glitch. And we found out in the litigation that we brought against the State Department that was an intentional edit. We brought a FOIA case, an intentional edit by the State Department to change the dating of when this was going. No, of course it's illegal. Look, first, obstruction of evidence. Maybe the inspector, I hope what your previous panel said is right, that the Inspector General has all this information. If not, the FBI, Department of Justice, better get it. If they can't get it from their existing systems, they need to go to Samsung and get it from them. Here's the problem, Sean. These are not just individuals. These are individuals charged with investigating this Russia probe. This wasn't just random political talk. And explain to me the 5 months just happened to be missing. That's a lot more than, by the way, 18 minutes.
Jay,
5 months, gone, and starts up the next day. The day after the special counsel appointed, it starts up.
I know for a fact, forensically, they can recover just about everything. Where are the phones tonight? Where are those 2 physical phones tonight? And let's go back to the character. Instead of trashing Samsung, how about we get Samsung to help us?
But why are these agents still employed by the FBI and Department of Justice?
I'm asking that question.
I mean, why is that? Right. Here's
what
the
about
problem
McCabe?
at the bottom here.
When are we going to get Comey
the entire process?
Listen, Crimes were committed at let me go back to the Watergate comparison for a second. 18 and a half, missing gap, if you will, of tape. Compare this to Watergate, a third-rate break-in to get op research on a political candidate and the cover-up. What's the difference here in how big this is?
Well, in the Watergate situation, you had inside actors and outside actors involved in this. Here, what you've got is the investigation is by inside actors. These are all Department of Justice, FBI employees that were engaged in this.
Isn't it worse, though? Isn't this using the powerful tools of intelligence to impact a presidential election and keeping a woman in the race that would have otherwise been indicted?
Hey, Sean, don't forget this. The FBI, the Department of Justice #4, Bruce Orr, his wife worked for Fusion GPS on this fake dossier. So he's still employed as well. So you have the whole scenario.
It's unbelievable.
The whole situation. And I want to see, I challenge my friends on the other networks to give this airtime. Cover this.
They will have to.
Cover this.
The reason they have been so wrong and so corrupt, they can't admit how wrong they've been. It's coming. I have run out of time. Jay Sekulow, you're going to be back tomorrow night. We'll see you then. When we come back, President Trump is... All right, President Trump's re-election campaign released a blistering new ad over the weekend attacking Democrats for being weak on border security and illegal immigration. Watch this.
The only thing that people forget is a too.
That's illegal immigrant Luis Bracamontes, charged with murdering 2 police officers.
I wish I killed one of those motherfuckers.
It's pure evil. President Trump is right. Build the wall. Deport criminals. Stop illegal immigration now. Democrats who stand in our way will be complicit in every murder committed by illegal immigrants. President Trump will fix our border and keep our families safe.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
The left feigning outrage as predicted, but Socialist Senator Bernie Sanders called it, quote, unbelievable, outrageous, feigning outrage. Here with reaction, Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi, author of the new book, The New American Revolution, a New York Times bestseller. RNC spokesperson Kayleigh McEnany is with us. Pam, let's look at this from the legal side. I sat through a border security meeting with Rick Perry. 640 some odd thousand crimes, including murder and rape. Not all, most not, but crimes against Texans. Do we not care about American citizens? That guy said he wished he killed more. Why does the truth hurt?
Well, Sean, it's the truth. I know firsthand as a prosecutor, I've been to Mexico twice. I have met with the good attorneys general in Mexico. They are trafficking human beings across that border. Young women being raped 40 to 50 times a day across the border. That's security needed. That's why we need a wall. I've seen firsthand the drugs flowing across the Mexican border into our country, killing our citizens. That's why we need border security. Our security now is inadequate. You've been to the wall many times, or where the wall should be. You've been to the border many times. We have to have a wall to protect our country.
I've been there 12 times, and I've been in the drug warehouses, floor to ceiling, drugs being brought into our kids. Kayleigh, I know they're talking about a deal. Okay, I'm not for Washington deals, but any deal that doesn't completely fund the wall, nobody should touch. Any deal that doesn't end chain migration should never be touched. Any deal that doesn't allow merit-based immigration should never be touched, in my view.
Absolutely. And President Trump has been unmistakable that those pillars must be in this, that the wall must be fully funded. And Chuck Schumer has the audacity to say that he offered Trump the full funding of the wall in his negotiations. Not true, that he didn't offer him that at all. He offered him a minute portion of this. But we need the wall, Sean. I've seen firsthand. I've sat across from a mother who cried her eyes out to me, Sabine Durden, at the loss of her only son, Dominic, because that illegal immigrant crossed the border twice. Kate Steinle would be here today if that wall was here. Her illegal immigrant that killed her.
I've interviewed these moms.
Yes.
I've interviewed, they lost their kids.
Yes.
And Kate Steinle is just one case in point. And that's the point, Pam.
And Sean, this isn't a partisan issue. This is the safety and security of our country, of our children, of the drug crisis in this country, of the human trafficking crisis that we're facing. The president and I have talked about this many times. This is a security issue protecting Americans.
Yeah. And Kayleigh, I mean, I guess this gets to the heart of it. I think a lot of weak Republicans and rhinos like Lindsey Graham, how dare Lindsey Graham take on Stephen Miller? Stephen Miller is advocating the president's promises on the campaign trail. One of the hallmarks of this presidency, he keeps his word. He was very clear about a wall, chain migration. Recent events ought to make everybody aware of the dangers here. And Lindsey Graham attacking really the president through Stephen Miller is just another cheap shot because he's already made a backdoor deal in private conversations with Schumer and Durbin.
Right, because when you're leveling those attacks against people like Stephen Miller or Tom Cotton, you're attacking the people's agenda. This is what the American people voted on. They voted on a wall. They did not vote for lawless Democratic policies that have aided and abetted illegal immigrants crossing our border, some of whom were perpetrators in the killing of Kate Steinle and Sabine Durden's son, and liberal judicial thought that enabled guys like Kate Steinle's killer to get acquitted. It's liberal Democratic policies our party needs to be targeting and nothing outside of that.
Pam, let me go to our top story tonight. And now we have the 5 missing months of text messages between Strzok and Lisa Page. We also have now implicated in this. We know that Comey, Strzok, and Page, we believe McCabe, all knew the fix was in. Now Loretta Lynch is implicated. Let's use the Watergate comparison. How big is this?
Well, I think we've all said it's much, much bigger than Watergate. This is our country. These people, and you and I keep saying this, these people are currently still employed with the justice system. 3 of the worst players. What did they do with one? Moved him to HR? Really? What did they do with the other? They're letting him retire early so our tax dollars can pay his retirement.
Investigate them.
This is what... Exactly. This is when the Justice Department needs to come in. They need to investigate them. These people do not deserve retirement. They must be investigated, and they can't not. Their security clearance should have been revoked, Sean, months ago when all this came out.
All right. Thank you both for being with us tonight. You know, I've said many times back in 2007 and 8, journalism is dead. This is the biggest story in all of every single journalist and every publication and every channel's career, and they missed it. And they went with a lying narrative that they could never prove. Tommy Lahren hits the streets of West Hollywood next. Straight ahead.
Touch is how we communicate with those we love. But when